Hi, it's Michelle from Here and There Makers. I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of how to make your own DIY washable face mask today and the process that we use to make them. Okay, so here we go. So what we need to start are 2 pieces of cotton. Now we make these in 3 sizes. This is the medium size, which is 9 inches by 6 inches. Okay, you will be able to download the instructions for this as well, written instructions, so that you can get the measurements for a large or for a small. The small is good for kids, primary sort of preschool to primary school age. The medium fits most adults, and the large is good for people with particularly wide jaws or beards. So anyway, we've got 2 pieces of cotton. One of the pieces of cotton, the front piece, has got a layer of non-woven iron-on interfacing. Okay, so that's the stiffening stuff. This gives an extra layer of protection. So that's already been ironed on there. Sometimes it doesn't stick 100%, but that's okay because it'll also get sewn in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this piece, and then we're going to get 2 pieces of elastic. So the elastic is cut at 7 inches. We're using 3mm wide elastic. Now, if you can't get elastic or for whatever reason you'd prefer not to use elastic, you can absolutely use ribbons and put ties on to tie your mask on. And that's actually a way to get a better fit anyway, because there's no one size really fits all, but we're finding 7 inches works for most people. Okay, if you're going to cut ties, you probably need to cut them about 15 inches long. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the elastic on, and we're going to tack it on before we sew the mask together. So we're bringing that down 1/4 of an inch. Now, I'm sorry if you're used to metric, but for this one we are actually going to do it with inches. So you can do your own conversions if you need. Okay, so we're popping that under the foot, and we've put it in 1/4 of an inch, and we're sewing a 1/4 inch seam. So we're just going to go over the top of that, back stitch over it again, and then you're going to lift up and trim your threads. This machine has a little fancy cutting button, so I don't actually have to trim the threads, it did it for me. Okay, then I'm going to make sure that my tape hasn't got any twists or loops in it, and I'm going to bring that down to the other corner, 1/4 of an inch in, and tack that down. Whoops, hold it steady. There we go. All right, doing that there, back tacking, trimming our threads, and then we're going to do the same again on the other side. Okay, so other side, 1/4 of an inch in and 1/4 of an inch seam, tacking that on, back tack, and done. Cutting our threads, lift up, make sure we've got no twists or loops, coming down to the last corner here. Oops, come on down. There we go. And back tack over the top of that, and trim our threads. Okay, so you can see we've got our 2 pieces of elastic for our ears on there. Now what we're going to do, we're going to actually put in a wire nose piece. So we're going to flip this one over to the interfacing side, and then we're going to have a 1/2 inch piece of cotton tape. All right, we're going to fold this in half, just press it with our fingers so that we can tell where the middle is. Okay, so you can see that's leaving a little bit of a line there for the middle. We're going to do the same thing with our mask. Fold it in half, press it with our finger, and that helps you find your middle. So now we're going to match the middles up, and we're going to bring this down a little bit more than 1/4 inch. Oh, that is not where the middle is. I got tricked by the light. All right, there's the middle. Just a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch down from the top line. Now, if you've got a one-way design like this one is, you need to make sure that it's facing the right way up. So this is the top of your mask. All right, so now we're going to bring that underneath our sewing machine. You can pin it in place if you need to. That's not a problem, so it doesn't move out the way. And we're going to do a very tight top stitch. But before I do that, I'm just going to fold down a little bit underneath there. You'll see why we're doing that when we insert the pipe cleaner part. So just like 1/4 of an inch folded under on that end. A little back tack to start, a couple of stitches, and then away we go. When we get to the end of our piece, needle down. You might need to use your winder on the side. This machine has a little up and down button. I know, it's pretty fancy, isn't it? Okay, needle down in the other corner and pivot, and we're coming back up the other side. Okay, now we've got a little sleeve for our pipe cleaner to go in. So here is one I prepared earlier. So this is a normal 12-inch pipe cleaner that we have folded down each end, and then we've folded it in thirds and twisted it together. We want to make sure and feel that there's no sharp edges that could poke out through the fabric of the mask. We're going to lift up our foot and squeeze the tape a little bit so that we can poke that into the little sleeve like so. Now this is where a chopstick or a quick unpick or something is quite handy, just to poke it all the way in. Okay, then you're going to turn, put your foot back down and sew over that last narrow end of the tape. Okay. All right, now we've got that sewn in there. What we're going to do is pop our cotton, our back piece over the top of that one, like so. So they're lined up neatly together. And we're going to go to the bottom edge and start about 2/3 of the way down. We're going to start sewing a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so we're going to back tack to reinforce, because that's where we're going to be turning this the right way out afterwards. So again, a nice tight 1/4 inch. And needle down, lift up to pivot, get your cottons lined up together. Now it's absolutely fine if you need to pin this in place, do that. We've made so many that we find we can do it pretty easily without pinning these days. All right, needle down, coming across the top. Make sure we're all lined up. Straighten everything up as you get to the other corner. Okay, lift up and pivot down the next narrow side. And then we're going to come across here, but we're going to leave about a 2-inch gap so that we can turn this the right way out when we get to the other side. Okay, back tacking there just to finish off. Okay, now we want to just trim our little corners, making sure that you don't cut through the actual stitching. We're just going to take a little triangle off each corner there, and that's going to mean that we have a nice clean sharp turn at the corners when we turn this the right way out. Okay, so then we're going to go to our little gap that we left here and grab the other side and pull it through like so. All right, we'll use our little chopstick now again to poke out those corners like so. Come on, pull the elastic, that helps poke the corners out like so. Pokey, 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 pokey. Now we're going to take this up to the iron is our next step. So we've got this at the ironing board now. We want to make sure that we poke in the 1/4 inch seam on the opening so that it's nice and neat and can't be seen. And we're going to press this nice and flat. Now, to be honest, I have made a little mistake. This really should have been on the back side, but most of the time with these you'll be putting the same fabric on the front and the back, and it really doesn't matter if you have that at the front and people can see it when you're wearing it, but you know, if you really want to be perfect then you would have it on the other side. Okay, so once we've ironed that flat, what we're going to do is we're going to get our little template here and mark some lines on the side. So we line it up with the top of the mask and we're putting a line with our chalk or some sort of washable pen at each line, so the dotted lines and the solid line. Okay, dotted line, solid line, dotted line, because we're going to make 3 pleats in this. Now you can do that on both sides. I'm not going to worry because I can do this and iron it straight just by eye, but if you're not as experienced sewing, you might want to mark both sides. So you're folding at that first line and then pressing it flat like this. Now you open it back out and you grab that crease that you've made and you bring it down to the next line. Okay, and that's your first pleat. We press that in place. Okay, then we come to the next line. The next line we're going to go back like we did before and iron it this way. Okay, bring it back again. Bring that line down to the next line. And this is our second pleat. Okay, third line, fold it back and iron that. Okay, and then last one, bring that last crease down to the last line. Yep, there we go, and you've got 3 neat pleats. Okay, now it is important that your pleats are going down towards your mouth. So the nose pieces at the top, the pleats are coming down. Okay, you don't want it with the nose piece this way, with the pleats coming up. Technically they say, you know, otherwise you're more likely to get stuff caught, germs I suppose, in the actual pleats. I don't know how much that is a real concern, but that's just the advice that we've received. Okay, we're now going to go and do the top stitching on this. Let's go. I'm going to trim off the little threads here at our nose piece. Okay, now we're going to go to one corner, doesn't particularly matter which corner, and we're going to do a nice tight top stitch over the top of the pleats and around the whole mask. So we're aiming for about 1/8 of an inch or a narrow top stitch. It's not going to hurt if you do a wider top stitch, but that's just what we've been aiming for. All right, your machine may struggle to go through a few layers, just go slowly. You can also extend the length of your stitch to make it a little bit easier on the top stitch. So I can't tell you how to do that on your machine, but my machine, you can see here that I've got it on a 2.6. I could make it even a 2.8, or yeah, different machines are set to different things. This machine's normally set at a 2.2, but I put it to a 2.6 for doing the top stitching. Just makes the stitch a little bit longer and helps it when it's going through the layers to move along the feed dogs okay. All right, so now we're coming to do the pleats the other way up. This can be a little bit more tricky and you may have to stop and adjust the pleats as you go. So I'm going to lift up, make sure my pleats are straight in where they're meant to be, and keep going. There we go, back down to the last corner and across the top we go. Make sure to do a little back tack of a couple of stitches just to secure your threads, and you're done. Okay, so to wear the mask, what you need to do is you open up your pleats, pop it round your ears and mould the nose piece to your face. Okay, so we do recommend that you wash these regularly, daily at least. Whenever you take them on and off, really, you should be changing your mask. We recommend popping them in a lingerie bag if you're washing them in the machine. Just helps to be a little bit more gentle on the pipe cleaner inside, or you can hand wash. So just wash normally with your clothes with some sort of soap or detergent, hang out to dry in the sun if there is any sun, and you can also give them a press when they come back out just to keep them nice and crisp. Anyway, have fun making your own masks. Thanks so much.